For more on the World Economic Forum and its Global Risk Report, we are joined by Andrew Small. He's an Transatlantic Fellow at the German Marshall Fund. Thanks so much for coming in. Some of the biggest risks they're talking about: income inequality, government debt, and rising greenhouse gases. Where does China stand with those three issues, would you say?
China, in one sense, is seen as coming out relatively well from this survey. It's seen on the economic threats as one of the most resilient countries. On the environmental threats, it looks somewhat weaker. But when you look in broader terms at this combination of economic and environmental risks and the capacity of governments to act to address them, in one sense, this report has brought out the fact that across the world, governments in a state of economic weakness are struggling to make progress against these risks. China, with its stronger economy, with its greater economic resilience, should be in a stronger position to take on a leadership role when it comes to these things. So in one sense, I think when you're looking at most of these risks worsening for most countries and weakening capacities to address them, China is one of the only countries that can address them successfully. China's also dropped off, I would note, in terms of being seen as a risk in its own right. A few years back, this survey was putting China up in its own right as one of the greatest economic risks to the global order. Now, I think that's seen as having receded. So in one sense, China would look at this report in a relatively sanguine way.
You know what's interesting, we just heard Jack Barton's report from Europe, kind of gloomy sales figures coming out from there. Then we had Hannah Belcher in Australia, similar story. A lot of people are looking to China where the economy just keeps humming. And some of the economists have a very bright look at how 2013 looks in terms of the economy there. How do you see it?
In the context of the global picture, of course, there's still a difficult external environment for China, but its internal capacity is still strong. I think it looks like it's weathered 2012 pretty well when people were predicting a lot of downside risk. It's looking fairly positive for 2013, and when you look at a global context in which it will be virtually one of the only drivers of growth and one of the only booming markets for countries that are partly looking to get out of their crises through expanding exports, China's going to continue to be an enormous focal point for countries throughout 2013 towards the economic recovery.
Well, let's talk about a couple of them, because I know that your work focuses on the relationship between China and Afghanistan and Pakistan. Talk to me about fostering those relations and how that's moving forward.
Well, Afghanistan, of course, I mean, when coming back to the economic crisis that's facing us in a certain sense, as the US winds down in Afghanistan and looks to reduce its military footprint there, that's a challenge for China. It puts stability risks on its border that weren't there before. So China's, as 2014 comes closer, is looking to increase its economic presence, even to a modest degree increase its security footprint there, and its close relationship with Pakistan. It's one of the most important. It's one of the most important factors in terms of being able to find a stable political settlement there.
Andrew Small, thanks so much for coming in and joining us tonight. Certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.